Ladies and gentlemen, a new snapshot has been released for Minecraft Java Edition 1.13. This is 18w07a. Not only is it any old snapshot, this is a big one, and it is the first one to contain features from the upcoming update Aquatic. The first underwater features are in this one. My name is slicedlime. I'm here to take you on a comprehensive tour of the new things in this snapshot. Let's start with new blocks. There is now a sea grass block. It generates in all oceans. That's temporary. It might only generate in some oceans later. And there's also a tall seagrass version of that. Appears to be decorative for now. There are also kelp blocks. They don't generate in deep oceans, only in shallow oceans. That's also temporary. That might change down the line. Kelp grows upwards towards the surface of the ocean, and you can knock down to get kelp items. Those can be smelted to get dry kelp, which is food. It can be eaten to regain saturation. Dried kelp also comes in a block form, but that is currently uncraftable. According to the notes, it's supposed to be crafted from dry kelp, but that doesn't work currently in the game. These dried kelp blocks also work as furnace fuel, and a very efficient one at that. Putting one into a furnace will allow you to smelt 20 items. Other new blocks, you can now strip logs using an axe on them, and you get a stripped version of that log with a smoother texture. Stripped logs act just like regular logs in all other aspects. And last, but certainly not least for new blocks, there are now slab and stair versions of all the different types of prismarine. Let's move on to mobs. There's a new hostile mob in this version that was voted in the Minecon Earth livestream. This is Mob B, or the Monster of the Night Skies, which has now been implemented as the Phantom. It's a sort of manta ray-like flying monster, spawns at high altitudes both in the overworld and in the end. In terms of its hostility, it's attracted to insomnia. It will seek out players who haven't slept for several days, and then it will swoop in for a bite of those players. If you kill it, it currently drops leather, but that might change in the future. One notable thing about these phantoms is that the phantom entity has a size data value, which means that if you are using commands to summon them, you can summon them in various different sizes, including a massively huge one. It's a little unclear how this is intended to be used in the vanilla game, but if you're a map maker, that might be interesting. Other mob changes: squids will now shoot ink to defend themselves, and horses, rabbits, parrots, llamas, and sheep would generate only in their default color or version, and that is fixed in this snapshot. There's another new mob, of course. Turtles are in this snapshot. Turtles only spawn on warm beaches, and that is also temporary. That might change in the future. In terms of their behavior, they will lay eggs on their home beach. They will remember their home beach for baby turtles to hatch from. These eggs progressively develop and you can see the difference, but they can also be trampled by players, and zombies will intentionally go over and trample them. If you have a silk touch on a tool, they can be picked up. As they hatch, they have a cracking texture. This happens during the night, and the baby turtles will scamper down to the nearest water when they hatch. If you kill a turtle, you monster, they drop a turtle shell piece, and that leads us into the new items in this version. You can use the turtle shell pieces to make a turtle shell. That is crafted in a helmet form, and it also turns out that the turtle shell is usable as a helmet. This helmet constantly gives you 10 seconds of water breathing while you are not underwater, so in effect it gives you 10 extra seconds of breath. That's not the only use for this. The turtle shell is also useful in brewing. It will brew awkward potions into potions of the Turtle Master. Potions of the Turtle Master level 1 will give slowness 4 and resistance 4 for 1 minute, which can then be extended to 3 minutes. Turtle Master 2 gives slowness 6 and resistance 6, and for reference that is 90% slower than normal walking speed. There's another new item, a new weapon in this version called the Trident. It's a throwable, but also a melee weapon. Works underwater, and currently you can't get it in survival. That will change, we don't know how just yet. If you throw it, it will land somewhere, and then you can walk over and pick it back up. However, you might want to be a little quick about that, because it can also be picked up by mobs. This weapon is currently super overpowered. It will be balanced later down the line. And also the UI icon is not done yet. Together with this new weapon, there are 4 new enchantments that you can put on it. Loyalty will make the Trident come back after you've thrown it. Riptide will throw you forward when you throw the Trident. And remember, this only works while swimming or while in the rain. And Channeling will call down lightning when the Trident hits the ground inside of a thunderstorm. That could be useful for charging creepers for your head dropping needs. Impaling will increase the damage of the Trident when it hits an enemy. More gameplay changes. You will get a proper swimming animation now, and you can actually sprint underwater. And speaking of animations, the sneak animation is now smooth again. That is a fix in this version. Underwater, there are bubble columns that generate whenever there's magma block underwater. Items and other entities will fall down into the bubbles, including if you're in a boat that will start rocking and then sink. Otherwise, items have now been changed to float to the surface of water rather than sink. One final thing about the bubble columns is that if you are at the very bottom of one, that is, you are on top of the magma block, then you will refill your air meter that way, but of course if you are not sneaking, you will also take damage. Another significant water-related change in this version is the water physics of the game. There are now certain items that can be placed inside of water and share the space with that water. Those things are currently slabs, stairs, kelp, seagrass and tall seagrass, and then bubble columns. Those are the blocks that can share a space with water. So note that this does not apply to signs or fences, they will still displace water. This is implementing using a block tag called water_hacked. That might be an indication that this will develop further down the line. There are a couple of fixes from the furnace changes from last Snapshot 2. You were unable to insert charcoal into furnaces, that is fixed in this version, and furnace recipes would actually work inside of the normal crafting interface for your 2x2 crafting or a crafting bench and could interfere with normal crafting recipes. That's fixed in this version. Bunch of fixes to World Generation 2. In the previous version, large oak trees didn't generate at all, with the new terrain generator that was introduced in last week's snapshot. Also, balloon oak tree variants would generate upside down, leaving only a tree stump in most cases. That is fixed in this version. And the coarse plant generation was broken as well. The debug world didn't generate at all, and finally, the world generator wasn't fully cleaned up. And what this meant was that if you had a world that was generating, closed that world, and then opened another one, then you could get structures that belonged to the first world, spawning into your new second world. That's quite a lot of new stuff. Feel free to go and play with this, but do remember, these are snapshots. They are likely to be very buggy and broken, can crash, can even corrupt your world, so play it on a backup of your world if you play it. Remember, your world cannot be downgraded to 1.12 and likely won't even work in 1.13 when that's released, so consider this testing only. For instance, we've already seen a couple of bugs in this one. There's no top rendering for seagrass or kelp in one deep water. Some people have reported that clicking doesn't work properly in this version at all. There's some cases where the world generation will stall and mobs will now spawn underwater and immediately drown. So, testing only, this is a very buggy snapshot development version. If you want to try it despite all of that, then head into your Minecraft launcher, go into the Launch Options tab, and hit Enable Snapshots. You'll get a message, make sure you read that, then hit OK and head back to the News tab, where now you'll have a latest snapshot profile to select under the drop-down box. Select that, hit play, and you will now be playing the latest snapshot version, which is currently this one, 18w07a. And that was all for this time. I hope you found this comprehensive look useful, and if you did, please help me out in return and leave a like. My name is slicedlime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.